Welcome to B2B Marketers on a Mission, a podcast for B2B marketers that helps you to question the conventional, think differently, disrupt your industry, and take your marketing to new heights. Each week, we talk to B2B marketing experts who share inspirational stories, discuss their thoughts on trending topics, and provide useful marketing tips and recommendations. And now, here's your host and co-founder of Einblick Consulting, Christian Klepp. Welcome, everyone, to this episode of the B2B Marketers on a Mission podcast, where you get your weekly dose of B2B marketing insights. This is your host, Christian Klepp, and today I am excited to welcome a guest onto the show who is on a mission. Her mission is to help agencies and developers to increase revenue, manage more clients, secure client retention, and grow their business with growth hacking. So coming to us live from Yerevan, Armenia, Araks Nalbandyan, Barigalush, welcome to the show.
Hey there, Christian. Thank you for having me today.
It's really great to be connected, Araks, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation. And I'll be honest with you, this is the first time I'm interviewing somebody from Armenia.
That's awesome. I'm very excited. I'm sure we will have a very interesting talk.
Absolutely. So, based on our previous conversation, we had a lot of topics that we talked about. There was one particular topic that I'd like to zero in on today because, you have built up a great and successful career around it. A lot of what you do in your current business focuses on this topic, and that topic is growth hacking. Now, let's break it down a little bit for the audience because, growth hacking for me at least is one of these buzzwords that everybody is trying to use in very loose terms, and we are growth hacking our way to this and growth hacking our way to that. So just for the benefit of the audience, please elaborate on what you believe growth hacking is and is not.
Sure. I completely agree with you. A lot of people use that term very loosely, that they call everything growth hacking, like any marketing activity, like a growth hacking. For me, I understand growth hacking as doing fast experiments based on the data and finding out that what can work for your company growth and then scaling it. It's basically experimenting based on data and doing it very quickly.
Okay, no, that's a good point. And what would you say growth hacking is not, right?
Growth hacking is not your general marketing activities, like doing good SEO, for example, and ranking high, even if it takes quicker, it's not growth hacking. Doing like a marketing campaign, offering like sales or something, it's not growth hacking, it's just marketing. I guess you can also differentiate that growth hacking is also more product-based rather than campaign-based.
That's a really good point. And I think it's really important to highlight that because I think that's one of the general misconceptions that people have about growth hacking. Speaking of misconceptions, that's a very nice segue into the next question. And because, you've been in this field for a while, so and let's try to look at it from a more, I would say, constructive point of view. But just talk to us about some of the mistakes and the misconceptions that you've seen people make when it comes to growth hacking and what they should do to address these.
Yeah, basically when as I told you, in my opinion, it's more about experiments. And sometimes you can do the experiments based on hypotheses, but it's better to have your ideas based on the data. And I think a lot of people just ignore data or don't pay as much attention to data as possible. That's one of the things that I would advise to keep an eye more on. And the next thing is knowing how long you want the experiment to last. So you have enough data again, so you can say if the experiment worked or it didn't.
Okay. And I mean, I know that it really depends on the situation and the where the companies are currently at in their life cycle. But what would you say generally is a good time frame, for growth hacking? How much time do you need to test something and to make those iterations generally? Well, in your opinion?
Well, it's very different depending on the traffic you're getting, depending on the on the experiment you're doing. It's like a small thing and you have a lot of data and you can get the results quickly. It can take very quick, a week. But basically, probably like in average, it can take 1 week, it can take 2 weeks, but it's based on the traffic you're getting. Like for example, if you're changing something in your sign up page, just as an experiment, depending on how many people visit your sign up page daily, you will need that much time. Basically, but I would advise to, for especially for like a new company, startups that are just growing, or like they need fast growth. Just try to like even spend more money on advertising for a week, just to bring a lot of traffic, and then do A/B testing to see if the experiment works or not.
All right, well, that's some pretty good advice. And just again, for the benefit of the listeners, would you say that growth hacking is an approach that is mainly used by tech startups and SaaS businesses, or can it be used by larger organizations as well?
Well, it started mainly, like the trend of growth hacking mainly started for the startups, because startups, they have an issue, a problem to grow fast. We know that like 9 out of 10 startups don't succeed. The one that succeed, they need to grow fast, otherwise they will have competitors. But I think that huge companies can still use growth hacking, because each company can get more clients, get more retention rate, get more lifetime value, and they can just based on data, big companies can see where they have problems and implement growth hacking in those aspects.
Okay, that's quite interesting. For this next question, I'm gonna say let's have a look inside the toolbox of Araks, right? So to find out what's in there. Okay, so what kind of growth hacking tools, from your experience, would you recommend to people out there, and why?
Okay, probably I can't say it's like just a growth hacking tool or a growth hacking tool, but it's basically Miro. I really like Miro because it helps you to create funnels, integrate everything, so you can see everything perfectly. We also use Notion. It's all just for help everything to work out. Just use Google Data Studio for the data. Just collect your data from everywhere in Google Data Studio. So it will be available for all your team, and they can just take a look at the data and make decisions based on that. And depending on your business, just optimize your processes to make it more automatic, more fast, and more efficient.
I know people talk about this a lot because, especially not necessarily just in growth hacking, but in other fields as well. But like they're always talking about like that it's not just necessarily the tools and the technology, but you also have need to have the right systems and processes in place to make everything work and harmonize. So what are your thoughts on that?
Processes are the most important thing, especially now then mostly everyone works remotely. Processes are the main thing that keeps the engine going. So you can be sure that the team is working efficiently, that the experiment you are doing is working right, and everything is in right place, and you can have a clear information about how everything is going. So processes are super important.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I'd like to get your thoughts on this because this is something that's related to growth hacking, of course, and then best practices, most especially for B2B marketers, right? So there was an article written by Outbrain, and it lists some like, you can call it like growth hacking tips for B2B, okay? So there's 4 of them. So one is, the first one almost seems obvious. Create relevant and valuable content. Yeah, I mean, we would hope so, right? So things like white paper, ebook, slide share decks, blog posts, case studies, and so forth. The second one is offering free trials. I think the question is like, is anybody not offering a free trial? Creating targeted newsletters. I think newsletters is also quite a common one. And then using multiple marketing channels. So it's not just social media, but like, even native and search advertising, paid, and so forth. So what are your thoughts on the above? Is there anything that you would add or anything that you disagree with, that's on that list?
I agree I agree with everything, especially the last one, as you said. I've heard a lot of marketers talk about like advertising, SEO, and usually people talk about it separately. In marketing, it does not work separately. You need to have funnel in different channels and understand how and why the channels are connected and bring the right traffic. One thing that I would like to add, I can add it just from our perspective at TenWeb as well, because we do offer free trial. We do provide a lot of content, but the thing that we found that also helped us is not just provide valuable content, but also make sure that your product is valuable as well. Find what your niche is struggling in and provide something that it can be valuable for your target. Because product-based marketing, it works greatly and provides you a longer retention rate and lifetime value.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, they kind of have to go hand in hand, right? I mean, you can't have like amazing content and a great marketing campaign and then the product is, yeah. So obviously we're not going to talk about COVID during this interview, but what I do want to know from you, which I always ask a lot of guests, is like, how has the pandemic changed your industry, your line of work, right? And what are some of the trends that you think B2B marketers need to look out for, especially when it comes to growth hacking? So like what's changed in the past, let's just say the last 12 to 14 months, and what is it going to look like moving forward?
Yeah, basically, because we're a B2B company as well, we are like focusing our main clients are agencies and freelancers who build websites for like other companies, other businesses. When COVID started, we noticed that actually the number of websites started growing because a lot of local businesses went online. So a lot of agencies got new clients building websites for them. So and that was one point. And the other point was the work processes. So we talked about it previously. The work processes where we set up a new processes that worked in the remote environment, and actually we started working even like more efficient there than in the office back then. And the processes were amazing. We were able to do a lot of experiments, and again, based on the right set processes and right set tools that we were using.
Yeah, no, that's quite interesting, and I think it's also it was an inevitable trend that all of these companies started to do everything remotely, and everything was digital, right? Because at least, I mean, again, it depends from country to country, but a lot of people, they couldn't go to the office, so they had to work from home, and they still had to find a way to like, interface, like if it's an agency, interface with the colleagues on a certain project, maybe access the server for materials or use platforms like, take your pick, Trello, Slack, Microsoft Teams, all of these, right?
Yeah, basically the automating tools became very popular as well, and because we also offer like website management, website building, and hosting automation, it was again one of the part that helps a lot of agencies to automate their processes. Project management, website management tools, and they're going more into automating manual tasks and more focusing on creative work.
Right, exactly. You probably brought this up a little bit earlier, but what do you think is one of the biggest challenges that's facing growth hacking right now?
Probably, maybe I'm repeating myself, but the main challenge is getting the right data. I can't emphasize enough how much data is important, and sometimes maybe we need to be sure that the data is correct, that we have enough data, that the data is actually correct, that somewhere the code is not broken and we're not getting wrong data. We need to take attention we need to take into consideration the data at each part of the funnel. For example, if you have a trial and you're doing advertising, you need to see where the clients, the data of the advertising, then the data of the signups, the data of after sign-up processes before they upgrade. You need to see the funnel and pay attention to all the aspects of data, because maybe you're doing an experiment that growth hacking and you think it's not working, but maybe something is broken in the acquisition part and not actually in the experiment. So you need to take attention at data at all the aspects and consider everything when thinking if the experiment is working or not.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And yes, you have brought up data a couple of times in the past few minutes, but I think that's quite frankly not a problem that's going to go away, right? So, I'd like to just talk about that a little bit further, if that's okay with you, because I think and it's not necessarily just because of the pandemic. There were also a few things that happened pre-pandemic. There's a lot of, if you look at, for example, the EU with the legislation, yeah, around data, right? Especially data that's collected on different platforms and so forth. And how do you think that this kind of legislation, just in general terms, would affect growth hacking?
Actually, I think it will affect quite a bit. We will, I think, in the upcoming months or even in a year, we will see a clear effect of that on growth hacking, because we will have less and less data, because now people can decide if they're sharing their data or not. Actually, I've talked with someone from Google. We were recently doing Google Growth Lab classes, and what they were saying is just to pay attention in general and try to get like more data and generalize the data in the future, and not focus on like specific things. But still, I think it's going to be quite challenging to understand better where your clients are interested, what your clients are interested in, what are they doing. It's going to be a lot more challenging. And I'm wondering, I'm really interested in how many people will decide not to share their data, and how much data we will have left like in a year. But I'm sure it will be quite challenging.
That I think is quite interesting and a little bit scary, right? And if I may, I want to just throw this question out to you, Araks, because I mean, yes, I'm sure with a lot of this legislation, certainly it will affect growth hacking, and so as a result of that, people can decide whether or not they want to share their data with you, and as a result, companies might have, I wouldn't say lesser, but like more restricted access to data. So at least from your experience and expertise, what would be the advice from the growth hacking perspective that you would give people out there that are coming to you saying, "Hey, we're really worried that this new legislation in these markets is going to affect the way that we are able to collect and analyze data." What would you say to them?
Well, I would probably advise to take more time on collecting the data based on like giving more time on the experiments. For example, if you were doing an experiment for a week at a certain thing, and you had your traffic, and you could make your decision that if it works or not. Now you will need more time to collect more data. So if you have more people that allow you to have more access to data, so it will probably take more time for you to get the correct data. So just pay attention to that, and I guess we will find out soon. What else we will be able to do.
Probably, right? Probably. What's a commonly held belief or a status quo in growth hacking that you strongly disagree with, and why?
Okay, so probably sometimes people do too many experiments when it comes to growth hacking, and though the doing experiments quick and getting results is quite crucial, but sometimes when you do just a lot of experiments at the same time, it all gets mixed up, and you probably are going to harm your product and your conversion rate more, rather than just if you focused on 2-3 experiments and gave it a proper time. It's again coming through watching the whole funnel and not just a single experiment, because something in the funnel can break down, and it can affect that small experiment part. So that's why imagine if you're doing like 7-8 experiments at a time, it will be very hard to understand which worked and which didn't.
Yeah, no, that's some pretty good advice. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying do fewer but do them well, rather than doing too many and then the results are not great.
Yeah, you can do like,
Mm.
for example, 3 experiments for a week, you get your results, then move to another three. Just and after paying attention to all the funnel data, and then move to another one, and
Mhm.
then another, and another.
Yeah.
Not just do it just at the beginning altogether.
Okay. Okay. So if you were to give some practical, I mean, you've given a lot of practical advice during this discussion, but if you were to just to wrap things up, to give some advice to those potential, let's just call them the potential growth hackers out there, what is one thing that you think they should start, and one thing they should stop doing in growth hacking?
Yeah, I think they should. No matter, I've mentioned it a couple of times that you need to do everything quickly, but still you need to pay to spend a lot of time understanding your client, who they are, what they think, what they breathe, and doing interviews with your, for example, your already existing customers or your focus group. Spend time interacting with them, understanding what words they are using, just diving deeper into understanding your customer, and then doing like different experiments will work better for you. And what you should stop, I guess we all should stop calling growth hacking just like general marketing stuff growth hacking. Let's just stop, and marketing is marketing, growth hacking is um, more product based, and it's different than just general marketing stuff that we usually do. I'm not saying it's not valuable. Marketing is valuable a lot and can help a lot of businesses, but it needs to work with growth hacking. But they are different, and we don't want to generalize it.
No, that's a fair point, and to be honest, Araks, that's the reason why we're having this conversation, right? Let's dispel the myth, clarify some misunderstandings, and just clearly define what it is, right? So that people don't, hopefully after they listen to this interview, they're not going to use growth hacking so loosely, right? But no, I mean, again, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your insights. And please, do us the honor and introduce yourself.
Thank you. It was really great talk. I'm Araks, as you told. I'm the director of marketing at TenWeb. We're an automated WordPress platform that automates website building, hosting, and managing processes. And I would like just to mention my favorite aspect of our product is that we automatically get websites 90 plus PHP score. So our clients, agencies, freelancers that build websites for their clients, they can focus on their business growth instead of working manually to optimize their clients' website.
Fantastic. Fantastic. This has been such a great session. And, thank you again for coming on and sharing. What's the best way for people out there to get in touch with you?
Thank you as well. And they can always contact me through our TenWeb chat as well on website, or if they want to check out the product, and they can also find me on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Araks, this has been such a great session. So thanks again for your time. Take care, stay safe, and talk to you soon.
Thank you as well. It was a great talk.
Thanks. Bye for now.